So I'm here in my home studio. It's Friday. I'm knocking out some session work, and I decided to take a break to talk about some of my favorite tools for sessions. Since it's 2020 and we're all doing a lot more work from home these days, I thought it'd be really interesting and really cool to talk about what I use for sessions. Now, if you're not a session player, not a session guitarist, that doesn't mean that you can't be. I've found that probably about 75% of the session work I do is at home, and that was even before COVID. But now it's certainly a lot closer to 100% of my session work is done from home. So I wanted to talk just really quickly about a few of the tools that I really like to use for sessions. So I'm just going to run down the list. It's super simple. Let's see if we can make this video really short. So first one up is the Groove Gear FRETWRAPS. Now, I've had this for about probably 5, maybe 6 years now. And Groove Gear is a really popular company, and this was kind of one of their pioneering products. They make some other different accessories for guitar and bass players and that kind of thing. But these are really cool. So you essentially just attach this to the top of your guitar's neck and slide it on. You can have it on there kind of behind the nut, so it's not affected. Then when you want it, you can slide it up. A lot of instrumental guitar players will use these because it mutes the open strings, and if you're playing some kind of really fast legato passage or something and you don't want strings ringing out, they're really helpful. While I don't really do that kind of music, I find it really helpful in sessions just to clean up solos or maybe more complicated passages, especially if you're in a key that you don't want the open strings to ring out. For example, if I'm playing in F or something where I know I'm not going to be using any of the open strings, this is really helpful to kind of mute them so you don't hear them. They're super cheap. You can get them in like 2 or 3 packs, and I think you can even buy single ones still. I think they're about $12 a piece. Really cool tool to have around. I need to buy some more because I have lost some, and this is the last one I have left. But that one's really cool for session work. The other one is pretty self-explanatory. Most of you probably already have something like this around, and that's a CAPO. Now this one is by PAIGE Capos. This is the click version. I first saw Ariel Posen and Joey Landreth using these. Were kind of most notably the first guys that I remember seeing with them. But these are really cool. Essentially kind of functions the same as the fret wrap, and that you can put it on your guitar's neck, clip it behind the nut, and then just slide it up as you need to. And then it's really quick to get back and forth and that kind of thing. I like it because it's easy one-handed operation, and maybe for one song in a set, I'm not using a capo and then I want to do something and move it up. But even sessions, I really like this one. This one seems to me to be the most accurate. Pitch-wise of ones I've used is just a simple bar, and the pressure is kind of actuated in the middle. So you're not having, like your typical clamp style capo where it's really clamping down on these strings and kind of pulling them out of tune. This one has been better for me, and they're not expensive. They're 20 to 25 bucks depending on the model you get. There's a traditional one and the clip. I haven't used both, and I really like them. Been using those for about 1.5 years now. Another thing I like to have around for session work is a variety of guitar picks. This is one of the cheapest and easiest ways to change what you're playing, and maybe even improve what you're playing. So I have just a few examples. I'll keep some thinner picks of different materials. This is just a typical Durlin, nylon, that kind of thing. I always have Jazz 3s of some variety. Tends to be my main pick for electric. JHS a few years ago started adding gravity picks in with their pedals, and even before that, I really like gravity picks, mainly because they have this unfinished edge on certain models. You can order them polished, but I like the master finish or unfinished edge. It adds a really cool texture and kind of bite to the strings, and that sounds really good, particularly to me on acoustic or on single line passages that you really want to stand out. Another one I've been really enjoying recently has been the Ernie Ball Prodigy line, and this is the Mini Shield, I believe they call this shape. It's a little bit smaller than like a standard pick, but it's not quite as small as a Jazz 3, and again, it's completely triangular, so each point is the same no matter where you're holding it. I really like these on acoustic. Picks are super cheap. You can get even variety packs now, and different picks, different thicknesses, different materials will give you different tone, which is really helpful in sessions just for inspiration. If you just want to grab something and maybe something doesn't sound quite right, instead of trying different pedals, maybe try different picks. Another thing, and this some people will think depends on the style of music, but I strongly disagree, is a slide. Even if you don't play blues or rock or country or Americana or folk or singer-songwriter or whatever else you may associate a slide with, I actually love using slide in ambient music. Even if it's just a simple passage, something about the way slide kind of moves between notes can be very emotional. Even if it's, again, super simple shoegazy kind of thing with a lot of delay and reverb or fuzz or something like that, a slide's really cool to have around. This one's made by Rock Slide. Kind of has their signature indentation there, and the cutaway fits your finger really well. I've been using these for probably about 6 years now. They're my favorite slides. I have a bunch of them, and I highly recommend them. I'll have all of this stuff linked in the description below. So the last thing that I really like to have around isn't specific to this one, but in general, I like to keep weird guitar pedals around. This is the Electro Harmonix Pitchfork. This has been a staple for me for about 6 or 7 years now. It's one of the few pedals that hasn't changed on my board in that time. And this is really cool. It can do different octaves, different intervals and positions. It can do everything from an octave up or down, 2 and 3, and then all of these other musical intervals. And a really cool setting on this is the D-tune setting you see there. So it's labeled by D, and you can see there's a dual switch. You can have either the interval below, both the interval below and above, or just the interval above. And then it's also got this switch that will make this foot switch latching or non-latching. So the non-latching mode essentially would kind of give you whammy style effects. It would go from what you're playing and then either pitch it up to or below, that kind of thing. But I really think pedals like this are invaluable when it comes to session work. While most of us probably only rely on overdrive and distortion, delay, and reverb for kind of your core sounds, it's really cool to have something that does weird things that you maybe don't always use, but can come in really helpful when separating guitar layers in a track. For me, the Pitchfork has been great. I also love using different chorus effects or something for kind of a subtle thickening. My Eventide H9 has a bunch of weird effects that I don't use except in sessions for the most part. So yeah, these are just a few things that I really like to have around for creative inspiration when I'm playing a session. It's really easy when you're locked in the house and you're just having to bang away at a bunch of tracks to kind of lose inspiration, or to kind of play a lot of the same thing over and over again. And I find that these things kind of help me break out of that, or help me approach the instrument a little bit differently. Again, none of this stuff is expensive. I'll have everything linked in the description below, but for all of this stuff, you're looking at a very minimal investment in terms of gear, and I think it will help you take your session playing up to the next level. So I hope this video was helpful. If it was, leave a like, comment below if it was, or what of these things you do use or will use in the future. Maybe some things that you like to use in sessions. Let me know what it is that you use. And yeah, until then, we'll see you in the next one.